We're making matcha dalgona. Yup, the matcha style of the famous drink you've been seeing online. I've adapted a few recipes I found online, but it only needs a few ingredients. These are the ingredients that you'll need for this recipe. But let me tell you, it took me quite a few trial and errors to really nail down that creamy topping. As you can see here, the simple syrup was not cooled enough that it would have that thicker consistency, and I was pouring too much all at once, so I ended up overbeating, overcooking the egg whites in the process. To start off, we're going to make the simple syrup, and that's going to consist of a 1/4 cup of water and a 1/2 cup of white sugar. You're going to bring it to a boil and make sure the sugar is all dissolved and let it cool. Next, we are going to get 2 egg whites, so that means separating the yolk from the egg whites, and that is going to be done through passing the yolk back and forth and letting the whites drip through. For this specific recipe, the egg whites that we're going to whip into a stiff peak or even a meringue-like texture is going to be that stabilizer we're looking for to make that creamy whipped dalgona topping. Next up, you're going to plug in your electric mixer and start whisking away, incorporating air into these egg whites. I highly recommend using an electric mixer over hand mixing because it will take forever. I mean, it took me 20 minutes just to whip up the dalgona coffee. After a minute or so, you will start to see stiff peaks forming. At this point, we are going to add the simple syrup. Now the key here is to add it little by little and making sure that it is cooled down just a tad. And then we are going to whisk it a bit more, incorporating it little by little. Now this is the consistency you want it to look like at the end. Next up, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of matcha powder. In some other recipes, they recommend mixing the powder in water and making it liquid before adding it to the mix. In that way, you are going to prevent clumps from formulating and allowing it to have a more seamless green mixture. As you can see here, I just went with the first way of doing it, which is adding the matcha directly into the mix. As you can see, it is creamy and it is quite smooth, but there are still a few clumps there. Now it is time to assemble the drink. We're just going to use some plain old good old milk here. And I'm not going to add ice because I just don't have ice at home. Now we are going to add the topping, and I highly recommend using an ice cream scooper. You'll get a very generous dollop, and you're just going to pop it right on top, and it should sit on the surface effortlessly without sinking through. Ta-da! This is the final result. Cheers to DIY days like these.